Hello, all you beautiful people. This is Learn to Love Yourself, Serenity with Rosie. And today's topic is I'm going to share my experiences of what it was like to grow up around Warren Jeffs. A lot of you may have heard of him because he was one of the top 10 wanted people from the FBI. So first, take a deep breath, calm my energies, and I ask the angels and our spirit guides to come around. I do want to make a clarification on the psychic gifts channel that I gave. I realized that I didn't mention my third spirit guide. So I have the boy and the girl, or the feminine and masculine energy ones, and then I have more of the father figure. So I just wanted to clarify that. If you have questions, you can go back and watch the one titled Psychic Gifts. All right. So what was it like to grow up around Warren Jeffs? So my earliest memory was when I was in first grade. And I don't know, I just was always so excited when I finally got to meet him. And I actually was my first grade class. It was in a private school, in Alta Academy. That actually does not exist anymore. But I remember in first grade, one of his wives was my teacher, and one of his daughters was in my class. And as I went through the schooling, the first grade, I learned a lot too. I was looking up to him, and I thought a lot of him. He seemed the kind type that he didn't seem to be harsh or rude, at least from what I saw at that time. But I would literally wait with his daughter. We were pretty good friends. And we would wait by the morning classroom, was what we called it. It was a big room where all of us met first thing in the morning, and we would have a half hour to 45-minute class of teachings, right? Before we'd go out to our rest of our classes. And I remember we didn't get to go to morning class because we were only in first grade. So we'd stay down and color or whatever. But at the end of the day, after choir, when the high school got done, we'd wait by that door, and as soon as they opened up, we'd run up there, and they gave every day at school, they gave us these attitude and behavior sheets. And so we would go to have him sign our attitude and behavior sheet. That was a big highlight because it was important to me, because being that he was one person I felt like I could make happy, and he always seemed to have a kind word for me. So I thought he was quite encouraging through my younger years. I remember we did that. I did that and was quite close to his daughter and my teacher for first grade. Second grade, I wasn't so much, but I was still close to his daughter. She was in my class. And then third grade, then actually, I don't remember if I think he actually came out and asked, or one of his wives did, asked my parents when they came to pick us up from school if I could go to their house for my birthday when I was 8. And shockingly, my parents agreed. So I spent a little bit of time that afternoon, just a couple of hours at his house. And we were having fun, just running around and playing as kids do. And I didn't see anything that was like a red flag or freaked out at the time. I didn't see anything odd in those situations. But I just remember we had a pretty good time. And I thought I was special. Like, not special, but I felt like he was one person who finally saw me and who appreciated me, and therefore, and anyone knows how it feels, especially as a child, then if you have somebody who makes you feel seen. Then as school went on and I was in his daughter's grade all of the years that I was able to go to school, up until 7th grade. And in 7th grade, I never quite understood what happened. I know when I was in 6th grade, then we had moved up to the school building. My family had, because we didn't have anywhere else to live at the moment. And so, because we rented houses, and so they let us move up there because we were going to have to split up our whole family. And Uncle Rulin, who was the prophet at the time, let us move up to the school. And so we lived up there. And so that was the only thing that I knew that would changed anything. But I don't rightly understand exactly what all happened in that time. I just know that it was interesting living. My bedroom was my first grade classroom. So it was different for that summer, but it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a lot of fun personally. I know some of my siblings and family might not have thought it was fun, but I thought it was fun. But in 7th grade, then I don't know, there was something off between his daughter and I, and she didn't really want to talk to me anymore, which is fine. I'm sure she had a valid excuse. But I never could quite understand what I did that caused that. It was just almost like there was a disconnect. And so 7th grade was pretty lonely for me, but I still did the best I knew how, as we all do. But this is more my experience with him. Is I still thought I still hadn't ever seen anything that was amiss or crazy up to that point. Other than that shift that happened, and I didn't know, I don't know, just felt like something was off in 7th grade, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. And then after 7th grade, then we were told that we were supposed to homeschool, and because the prophet was moving to Short Creek. And so I was helped with getting all the books ready and sending them to families so that everybody could do homeschooling, and which I enjoyed to be involved in that, as well as I would help my mom's house clean. But during that time, it got to where the people in Salt Lake didn't get to see Uncle Rulin and those guys very much because they were moving down south. And little did we know, this was all in preparation for when we all had to be out of Salt Lake by 2002 because of the Olympics. And so this was years before that, and I helped my mom. We taught a 5th grade girls class. But all before that, he had almost been like, I had idolized him and thought the world of him, and then I didn't know what to think about him. And so it was a little bit of it was quite sad as a child, because I had thought a lot of him, but then I didn't know what I thought anymore. And I'm sure it's just off my own perceptions and what I thought and felt at the time. But as time went on, and then we ended up moving from Salt Lake and moving to the Crick, and there was no big highlights of him per se there. And I remember I did not want to move to the Crick. I did it begrudgingly. I really did not want to. It just, I don't know, it just felt like we were going down a dark tunnel. And that was just 7th grade, it felt like was the start of it. And so that was just another step into darkness even more, and the heavier energies. And so after we moved to the Crick, then I really didn't have any to do with any of them. I didn't go to school. I had another job I was doing all the time, and so I never really got to go to school again until I was older. But during this time, like in my arranged marriage video, I explained how I hadn't really talked to him or anything before I got married. But I don't know, because when I met him, even when I got married, it was almost like this disgust. Like honestly, it felt terrible to say, but it was almost like he looked at us like, you peasants. And I don't know. It was just the weirdest feeling from the same man that I dealt with the emotions and feelings from when I was a child. And so it was just really, really hard. But nonetheless, because it helped me in my situation and I was in survival mode. And so I was like, whatever it takes. But the last time I've ever seen him was actually when Uncle Rulon died. Well, it wasn't when he died, but at his funeral. And I just remember going through the line, and I saw Uncle Rulon, and it felt like all emotions and everything was just coming up, and it felt like an impending doom feeling. It just felt like we'd gone down this thing and now there was no light left. It was all just darkness. And so I just was sobbing. And as I was going through the line, and I shook his hand, Warren's hand, and he looked at me and he says, "Oh, it's going to be all right." And he kind of patted my back as I was going through. And I just remember looking at him, and I was like, and I did not see truth in his eyes. And I was like, no, it's not. And that was just the beginning of the craziness. Not really the beginning, but steps in more into the craziness that we went. And it's just so heartrending and sad. And all the different stipulations that they put us through of what you had to do to be a member and then be a non-member, and what you'd have to do to comply. And it was just literally like, as you would imagine, a boa constrictor snake, how they surround their victims and basically squeeze the life out of them. it was like that, just tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and more restrictions. And it's just, the thing that's heartrending is I saw a teaching apparently he gives from prison to people, and where that teaching had been read at someone's funeral. And I was reading it, and my heart just hurt so bad. And I could feel the emotion that he had telling that. And even still, I can feel it right now. And it's just sadness. And it doesn't make sense. The wording even, it's like almost gibberish, where it's hard to, there's not like a complete thought in there. And it's really, really sad to see where all of this has led to. And where, when I saw him, when I first met him, it was like bright, happy, we were testing really high, even for the state standards. And now to see that it's come to this, where even the children are told to memorize this stuff that doesn't actually make sense. It's sad. It's really sad. And it makes me think about myself. And I think, is power so important to me that I'm willing to disregard everything? What really matters to me? And it's just because you have to know, the logical person would not want to be in the situation he is. And all he does is blame the people that are in the church because they don't have enough faith. And it's just really, really sad to see what legacy he's leaving and what he had. And so it's just a big eye-opening for me to think about and to realize, what legacy am I leaving? And so the biggest thing, it's almost like I did think a lot of him as a child, but it's almost like you imagine that you had imagined somebody who was an illusion, because I saw what he wanted me to see. And it's just sad when people are consumed by themselves. But that's my memories of him. So I do send him love and healing if he's open for it. And I send love and healing to all of you. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Just remember how loved you are.